talked plenty enough about the players that we do love, but I have my friend Alfredo Brown here, and we're going to talk about 10 players that we think have the biggest bust potential in the 2026 NFL Draft. Alfredo, I gave you 5 slots to pick players, and I basically told you, since you come from more of the fantasy background, I'll let you have all the skill players. Was surprised to see Fernando Mendoza on this list as our very first option.
Yeah, man. First of all, big preach for having me on. I love that you're letting me just talk about skill players because I got nothing on the offensive lineman. Dude, this is so fun. I hate doing these. Like back when I was in radio, they used to call them the Dolly Parton team, like the all bust team. And it's just like, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if that works on podcasts now, but it's so tough to talk about players being like bad at football. So like I want to give as much context as I can, especially when we talk about Fernando Mendoza, the guy who's supposed to be the top pick in the NFL draft. You're like, how is he bad? He's the number 1 overall pick. And we saw everything he did. Like he's one of only 7 quarterbacks to win the Heisman Trophy and the national championship. There's very few guys that have done that, but not all of them have actually been players that went on to have extraordinary success in the NFL. Something that you like to talk about with quarterbacks is guys that are orchid quarterbacks that just need the perfect environment. And that's Mendoza. Like it's not a coincidence that he went all those years in Cal without really having this incredible production. He gets to Indiana where he's got a very good offensive line. He's got one of the oldest rosters in the nation, and he's got 2 receivers that work really well with what he does. So many of his yards and his production came from back shoulder fades to Elijah Surratt and yards after catch from Omar Cooper Jr. And I was putting on the film for Omar Cooper Jr. last night, rewatching Fernando Mendoza, and I'm like, man, some of these interceptions, it's not many, but some of the interceptions he's throwing are just like bad. He's just not seeing guys dropping back, or he doesn't have the arm strength to get it out there all the time. And a lot of it is because he gets put off platform. And when Fernando Mendoza is off platform, we saw this a lot in the Miami game in the national championship, he just struggles. That accuracy is not there. He's already got like, I'd say above average arm strength, but it goes to like, I'd say below, like it's a negative at that point once he's on the move. So I think he did a lot of things that gave him this lure of like being a household name, very similar to how Joe Burrow did it. Joe Burrow was a much better prospect coming out. So I don't think he's necessarily this bad quarterback. He's not a guy that I'd be super stoked about at the number 1 overall pick if I am the Las Vegas Raiders.
What's interesting enough is he's the opposite of Cam Ward. And I don't mean that Cam Ward is better, but I felt the exact same thing about Cam Ward. I'm like, man, this guy can do everything off platform. Like if the play breaks down, there's probably not a better quarterback I'd rather have back there. Fernando Mendoza, always on time, most of the time accurate, but if anything comes outside of structure, that's when things go bad. And I know some of you are going to bring up the national championship, all that stuff. It all matters. All that tape matters, and that's why he is number 1 right now. But in comparison to other number 1 quarterbacks, like you bring up Joe Burrow, even I think C.J. Stroud, I think was a better prospect. That's hard to say right now after we just saw playoff C.J. Stroud, but that was more like, was it playoff P? That was like regular season Paul George that we're watching out there. You know, like it was really bad, but I think he was a much better prospect. And it's just because he offered, I think, just a lot more consistency throughout his entire career. Because I think it's important to remember that Mendoza only had that 1 year in Indiana and then kind of a lot of bad over in Cal. So, or was it Cal? I have to look that up.
Sorry, yeah, he was at Cal.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's say you guys will let me know in the comments. Cal and UCLA are so bad that they're just like, why do you guys have 2 schools? Like, just make one mediocre team instead.
Don't talk to me, man. I'm in Florida. We've got Florida, Florida State, Central Florida, South
FIU.
Florida. South Florida's not even technically in South Florida. It's in Tampa. Like, the whole state's messed
up. The other thing that I wanted to bring up about Mendoza, and OGs, tap in the comments, because I feel like you'll understand that folks that are maybe a little bit more fantasy focused or maybe a little bit younger, you're going to think that this is a take that lacks analysis. Being a Raider matters to me, because that's where a couple of these guys I worry about landing spot, where it's like, it's not just Fernando Mendoza. He's going to the Raiders. Does that bother you at all?
Oh, man. It's hard because that's such an intangible thing to put in there. Like, It's just like the same way, like when if the quarterback were to become a Dolphin, I'd be like, well, that was fun while it lasted. The career's probably not going anywhere. I'll say this. I think I have some hope because of Clint Kubiak, because of what he was able to do with Sam Darnold. Like, I actually think we can probably get a very Sam Darnold-esque, like from last year, Sam Darnold-esque type of career out of Mendoza if we just kind of bottle what Darnold did last year in the season and spread that out throughout a career. I actually think Darnold's still a more talented player and better prospect than Mendoza was. But there's something to it. You're right about there's something to it with organizations. When the organization is not run well from top to bottom, it's worrisome because then you start to think, how patient are they going to be with Clint Kubiak if he's not in the playoffs by like year 2? Are we starting over? They don't have weapons right now. They have Brock Bowers and Ashton Ginty, but there's not really a whole lot of pass catchers. The offensive line is still a struggle. So there's just a lot of things there. They're flipping through GMs like every 2 years over there. So instability definitely matters, especially when it comes to quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I will say Tom Brady being in the building, I don't know if the change is good yet because it's only year 2, but I do think
it feels very
different.
Jordan on the Bobcats.
You think so?
Became Hornets.
Yeah.
It feels like that.
Yeah.
It feels like that where you have like this phenomenal greatest of all time player who maybe does a little too much in the organization. They're like, well, why can't they do it like me? And it's like, well, buddy, the kids aren't as good as you. Like, I don't know. I don't necessarily see it as a plus just yet. I think most people look at Brady and go, oh, that's an absolute plus. Dan Marino's been part of the Miami Dolphins organization for like the last 15 years, and it has not helped us one bit whatsoever.
That's true. I didn't even know that. And I actually genuinely did not know
like
that.
He has been part of football operations for like the last 15 years, and you can say we are arguably worse than we've ever been.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, where Clint Kubiak, I think, is the right hire. But it goes back to where I see Clint Kubiak like I do kind of Fernando Mendoza. Are the Raiders going to ruin Kubiak in his head coaching gig? Because like is Tom Brady or anyone in the front office just going to consistently come down and be like, hey, we need you to do this. They're going to Jerry Jones him or something like that, where there's just going to consistently be this dichotomy between your head coaching staff and whatever you have going on in the front office, whether it's Brady running things or whatever. Like, it seems like Brady has more and less power than what people are saying, because there's this whole thing now that everyone hates Brady's trainer. These are all just rumors. I would hate Brady's trainer. In fact, it was a huge problem with the Patriots. That's what started the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady breakup. One, Bill, giant asshole. Tom Brady, probably a weirdo and an asshole. And then you bring in this other trainer in there. It's like, it's like a messy environment. So that's why I worry about Mendoza on top of that. But at the same time, again, Clint Kubiak he fixed Sam Darnold all the way, like KOC kind of did. But like Clint Kubiak had that same safe system. So.
Yeah, I look back to it like Kubiak when he was in New Orleans. Like, the offense was good for a while, and then it got figured out. And I'm wondering like how much of the stars like just aligned really well in Seattle, from having a run game that worked later in the season. Not always. The offensive line was much more improved, and a consistently steady, reliable receiver in Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now, you can have a lot of those same things in Las Vegas. There's a very old school feel to the Raiders right now. They've got the star goated player who's part of the front offense. They've got a Kubiak as a coach. Like, we haven't had some of these like older offensive minds around as often, a son of a coach. Then you've got strong running game, good tight end. We're going to build in the trenches and get ourselves a 6'5" quarterback first round pick. There's a lot of old school vibes to this. So that might work in the NFL. I know we're kind of like waxing on about it, but I think there's a lot of reasons for Raiders fans to feel good, and there's a lot of reasons why people are positive around the Raiders, because it's something familiar and something we have been around.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that they have bust potential. Like, he has one of the biggest bust potentials, and it's not that we think that Mendoza just sucks. It's just that he's not Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow, whatever stud prospect, and he's going into, I don't want to call it a viper pit because that would make the Raiders sound more dangerous than what they are. But
right. Like, think about it. Everyone keeps comping him to Jared Goff, and I think that's an adequate comp. Mm-hmm. But like, Jared Goff wasn't even a fun number 1 overall pick when he was the top pick. Like, it's just, that's where we're at. The number one pick is Jared Goff, a guy who like a lot of us saw as a bust when he was traded from Los Angeles to Detroit. And then everything happened to work out there. And we're like, oh, okay, it can work. So it's like, if that's what we're comping him to, that is a little worrisome.
It is. It is. Next one is another quarterback. This is the only skill player that I put on here just because it makes sense. It's Ty Simpson, man. Like, I think, and I actually want to thank the users on this. You guys came at me in the comments because of what I said about JJ McCarthy, where I liked Ty Simpson going to the Vikings before Kyler Murray went there, because I wanted to tell people that, like, hey, everyone's saying Kyler Murray to the Vikings, nothing has happened yet, so let's just pretend that anything's on the table. Someone brought up that JJ McCarthy had more pass attempts than Ty Simpson. And according to my process, that is alarming. I do think that Ty Simpson had more meaningful games, and the style of offense that Alabama played matters, but we're talking about someone who didn't have a lot of experience, who he did have a bad half of the season, whereas like I think it was because of injury, and I believe that. But again, you gotta think about every scenario. It all matters. And Ty Simpson is someone who could come out and get drafted pick 15-ish and bust. And this goes all the way back to the statistics of quarterbacks after they fall outside of the top 10 picks. Like, the percentages and hit rates just drastically fall for these guys. And we got to be realistic about Ty Simpson. Even if he does go to the Rams aren't actually good drafters. They just like got it right a couple of times real big. And then they
drafted in years.
That's what I'm talking about.
What it's like.
Yeah, they drafted Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, so like the Rams know how to draft. I'm like, no, they don't. That was their only 2 picks in 5 years.
The Rams are like the dad that shows up to the flag football game on the weekend, throws 1 touchdown. He's like, still got it.
Yeah.
Still got it.
I remember you guys drafted Tutu Atwell. It's like 2nd round. Like, come on now.
Come on.
Or, I actually forgot about this. Jarquez Hunter is another one that they drafted, and like there was tape.
They draft running back like that every year.
Yeah, so
every year.
Yeah, I'm assuming you agree. If you had Fernando Mendoza on this list, Ty Simpson's just got to be right there.
I think there is absolutely bust potential for him. Like, there is enough things on the prospect profile that is alarming, especially the number of starts, the way play dropped off towards the end of the year. But like you pointed out, man, it's a lot of it is from that injury. I'm actually looking at it right now. Week 8, bulging disc in his back. Then to help the bulging disc and the pain, he starts taking pain meds. So then he gets gastritis.
It's like he's on drugs will help you.
Yeah, no, seriously. They gave him anti-inflammatories. He gets gastritis because he's taking too many of them, which you can maybe put that as a negative in the prospect profile. But he loses 20 pounds. He's underweight. He's weak. He's having pain in his back, like going full Matt Stafford. It sounds like a Ram to me. Then week 13, elbow bursitis. Week 15, that Rose Bowl game against Indiana, fractured rib. And everyone's like, you didn't play very well. Look at them head to head. Yeah, man, there's not many of us in the world that let alone play football would just be walking around with a bulging disc, down 20 pounds in a month, elbow injury, and fractured ribs. Like, dog, I sit on a chair and talk on a podcast, and I'd probably call out if I had one of those.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, yeah, the play dropping off, Jag, it's nuts because weeks 1 through 8, I think he's the best quarterback in college football.
Yep.
And I think he's the number 1 pick weeks 1 through 8. 2.5 touchdowns per game, 1 interception through 8 games. He's 7-1 as a starter. We're talking about Ty Simpson. Why has he been sitting behind Jalen Milroe all this time? And turns out it's just malpractice. Like, it's a bad Alabama team, bad Alabama offensive line, bad Alabama run game, bad everything. Ryan Williams disappeared off the face of the earth. And then for those final, 6 games, everything just looks horrible for him. And that's what football is. It's a what have you done for me lately kind of environment. So yeah, that hurts his draft stock. But he does a lot more things that I think translate to the NFL better than Fernando Mendoza. And you and I have had this talk a couple of times where if I had a pick for a quarterback and I really wanted to get him, I prefer Ty Simpson in the middle of the first round than I do Fernando Mendoza at the top pick. I don't think there is a massive gap between these two players. I think Mendoza is safer, but I think that Ty Simpson has the higher ceiling. I like him being able to hit throws in the middle of the field, call his own pass protections, run NFL concepts, be able to process his reads quickly. I love all that. Where things fell off was the injuries and the same problem that Mendoza has. When Ty Simpson has the blitz coming at him and he gets off platform, he will make mistakes. I think that got exacerbated. I think that got way worse when he was worried about getting hit later on in the season due to these injuries.
That happy feet gets happier when you're high as shit and got a bulging disc. Let's just say, like, you painted the perfect picture. It's like week 1 through 8, man. Wow, that's a number 1 pick. Bulging disc, pump that baby full of drugs. He's a child, guys. Like, this guy's like 22 years old. Let's pump him full of drugs, throw him out there and see what happens. And we did. We saw what happens.
Dude, he lost 20 pounds.
Yes.
Like, think of you're very much about your body, your fitness, what you're eating and putting in, like protein, all that. Imagine how you'd feel losing 20 pounds in the span of a few weeks.
This actually,
you're gonna feel awful.
Yes,
that's your nightmare.
Real life scenario. Granted, guys, I'm like 33 years old. I might be 34. I was just questioning myself the other day.
Yeah. Don't know.
I was just like, I'm not sure anymore. I'm that old is basically what I'm saying. And I got sick with strep throat, and I was already like hard to get inconsistent because we travel and do all kinds of stuff. Then I did deadlift, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go over 400 pounds. I want to die, dude. After deadlifting, like it was like 450 I did, and I was out of the gym for 2 weeks. That's me just out of the gym, laying down. Like I just laid down with a little itchy black lung pop, and this motherfucker had a hernia and goes out there and plays. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, man.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I think he's probably one of these guys, depending on, there's not a lot of like quarterback spots left in the draft. Pittsburgh still feels like a real thing. Arizona maybe trading up into the first round to go get him. There a couple of these places work, and I think that all of those sound great. I think that he'd be a great fit in Arizona. I think he's a great fit in Pittsburgh with Mike McCarthy. I would be absolutely terrified if he becomes a Miami Dolphin, just because I don't think they're setting anyone up for success. Like Malik Willis, sorry, baby, you're out after a year. Like this, I don't think it's working there.
The Dolphins are just like Las Vegas Raiders, Baja Blast. Let's call it what it is, dude. So let's just call it what it is. But
the Dolphins are tanking better this time around than they did last time. They're tanking much better.
They're at least trying, you know. They're like, hey, man, we're not going to go pay Jalen Phillips and say that, like, hey, we're going to compete now. The Jalen Waddle thing, I was like, oh, good for y'all. Actually putting an attempt. And for your point on, like, Ty Simpson liking him, again, it goes back to the point I made earlier. Ty Simpson has a chance just to go to a very, like, much better situation. He can go to the Rams. And is that good? Yeah, I know Puka Nacua is on a generational crash out run. He's doing just enough not to get suspended.
Keep Sidney Sweeney away from Puka Nacua at this point. I know he was shooting his shot.
I missed the graphic. Someone had made it on there. I didn't even know about the fake Sidney Sweeney thing. I'm like, this dude, like somebody needs to lock up Puka. But this isn't about.
She was talking about something of like I want to go skydiving with someone, or I want someone adventurous, and Puka's like, "What's up? I want to go skydiving." And just shooting his shot on Twitter. It's like, dog, go enjoy the off season. Go do something else. You have the world at your feet. Don't do this.
Oh man, poor guy. All right. Before we get to the rest of this list, a lot of quarterback talk. Sorry, guys. Quarterback's a big position. Lots to talk about. Make sure to hit the like, subscribe button. If you're on mobile, make sure to hit that hype. You guys have been fantastic lately. We gave you a fantasy mock, which we don't normally do here because I ban fantasy stuff normally, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit of fun. But again, we are a draft show. We're going to be giving you all the draft content up until the draft. And then afterwards, we're already going to be moving on to 2027. So we're the premier spot for college football and draft news. More importantly, if you are a fantasy nerd, you can go over to dynastynerds.com, sign up for the Nerd Herd, and you can become a draft nerd yourself because we have a full library of tape. Most of the industry uses it. You can too, where we have cut-ups. All these are broke down to like 10 minutes where you can watch every snap from all your favorite skill positions. Also, we've got our rookie guide ready. Alfredo has a rookie guide we're going to talk about later. Stick around for that. I think I've paid all the bills. Do all the stuff, guys, that any podcaster's ever told you to do. Okay, we're going to jump back into it. Your next one, Denzel Boston. Chris Sims, baby. The gift that keeps on building. This is Chris Sims, wide receiver 1. I'll just leave that out there. Yeah, I'll just leave that out there.
What are we doing, man? to Denzel Boston, there's enough to like about Denzel Boston. I think he's got very good hands. He's a contested catch winner. Like when people make the comp to Keon Coleman, I didn't like either prospect, if we're going to be totally honest. But the thing is, like, he's not Keon Coleman. Like, he's just not. Keon Coleman had a few circus catches, but he struggled with the contested catches. Denzel Boston does not struggle with that. Denzel Boston does not have inconsistent hands. He's not dropping easy passes. He actually has very good hands. His problem is that he's just not a consistent separator. I think there's some Kenny Galladay to his game. I have like 17 different comps for Denzel Boston. Like there's like Jaden Higgins. I've got a high end comp of like Michael Pittman, median of like Michael Wilson, just anyone named Michael, and then low end comp, which I think unfortunately is extremely realistic for him, is Cedric Tillman. All these guys are around round 2 wide receivers. What I worry about is there's going to be a GM that sits there and looks at him the way Chris Sims does, and it's like, that's our guy, baby. 6'3", 212 pounds, doesn't drop passes. We're going to take him in the first round, top 20. And I don't think this is a number 1 wide receiver for a team. I think he's a developmental wide receiver 2 for a team who really needs to get better at running routes. And I talk about this all the time. Players who don't create separation in college typically don't tend to start creating separation in the pros. If you are not a refined route runner in college, entering the NFL, you typically don't learn how to run routes better at the pro level. Especially when you are a first or second round pick, NFL coaches, they need to put you and plug you into the offense. The biggest thing you need to be learning is install, learning the playbook, not how to run routes. And that's the struggle with Denzel Boston. He's a very linear guy. He's not like super fluid or creative after the catch. He does a few things. I won't say he's a 1-trick pony. He's like a 2 or 3 trick pony, but he does those 2 or 3 things pretty well. It's all the other stuff that's not quite there. I also think there's a little bit of a concern that when he and Jeremy Bernard were both at Washington, Bernard outproduced him as well. That there could be a litany of reasons as to why that works out, but Denzel Boston, I'm just not sold that he's this top 20 or even first round pick kind of guy. I think he's someone you take a chance on in the mid-second round.
I agree with that 100% because that's where I think I'm a little bit higher than you on him because, like, you already said it. Like, I think he's significantly better than Keon Coleman. I mean that by a lot. Keon Coleman, I remember his grade. It was like a 71 for me, which is that is 2 points from ass, guys. Quite literally, like it shows red on my spreadsheet. Like, not good, dog. And
wait, 71 is 2 points from ass.
Yeah, like once you get to past
69 is ass, and you're
yeah.
Was that intentional?
No, but it actually makes sense. Yeah, that was not intentional.
Just go with it.
But it is. It's funny. It is funny. And technically, it would be 69.999 to infinity. But I just think that a team is going to draft him to be Drake London, and he's closer to Michael Pittman. That's my, and like. We need Michael Pittmans. I am a Michael Pittman fan. But from an NFL standpoint, there's a reason why they paid Alec Pierce and then they shipped him over to Pittsburgh. He's just not the guy that is going to unlock the offense, and you need to design it around,
Michael Pittman's become this guy that has to win underneath now. Like on kind of, I don't want to say cheap routes, but cheap routes. Like he doesn't separate the way that we want him to. He's benefited from being a target hog at certain times in the offense, but like you said, there's a reason they shipped him off to Pittsburgh. And I see a lot of the same things with Denzel Boston. I think Michael Pittman's a fine player, but I don't want to draft a fine player in the first round. I want to draft a really good player with intense upside. And I'm not seeing that despite the size and the hands, the contested catch ability with Denzel Boston. We got to get to the end zone before I'm throwing fades up to this guy at the end zone. And I don't know that drives get sustained with wide receivers that can't separate.
Yeah, Michael Pittman is in his 34-year-old Larry Fitzgerald era before 30, that makes sense. So it's just a fun player. It's like you said, if you're drafting him top 50, dope. If you're drafting him top 32 player, that is to me, that is a kind of a busted potential. Next, my guy who I think is going to bust, not someone who I just love, is Sonny Styles with Ohio State. I think he is an incredible athlete, and I think he's going to be a solid player, but I just worry that. Okay, I'll just go to the nuts and bolts of it.
Do you get it? Do you get Isaiah Simmons vibes?
Yes, thank you. That's the one it's Isaiah Simmons. It's like Devin White. We do this every year. Marcus Mosher had an interesting tweet. This is from 2021. He made this.
There's always sorry, before you do that, like there's always this can't miss linebacker that has incredible athletic traits, and very rarely does it pan out anymore. We try to do this thing where we are going to outsmart the NFL by having these elite athletes play important positions. Sometimes it works, but most of the time it kind of doesn't. Like, you actually just have to be really good at the position. I don't know enough about Sonny Styles to say whether he's good or bad at the position, but I think we're seeing the trend like continuously just not work out very well.
Some of these players that we were talking about on here, Denzel Boston, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, I'm spoiling it, but you guys will get it. Zach Branch, like, it's the same thing. The NFL is going to continue to step on these rakes to try to recreate players that happen to work out time and time
It's
again.
the Arrested Development meme. It's like, did it work for those people? No, it never does.
Maybe it'll work for us. I'm actually rewatching that show right now. It still holds up. Since 2021, here are the linebackers that have been drafted on this list: Micah Parsons, Zaven Collins, Jamin Davis, Joe Tryon, Isaiah Simmons, Kenneth Murray, Jordan Brooks, Patrick Queen, Devin White, Devin Bush, Roquan Smith, Tremaine Edmonds, Leighton Vander Esch, Rashawn Evans, Jared Davis, Reuben Foster, Darren Lee, Shaq Thompson, Stephon Anthony, Ryan Shazier, Alec Ogletree, CJ Mosley, Luke Kuechly, Dante Hightower, Rolando McClain, oh my God, Sean Witherspoon, Aaron Curry, Brian Cushing. That's all the way back to 2009.
That's back when football was fun and we were taking steroids.
They were wearing cowboy collars and no one gave a shit about CTE back then.
Yeah, man. That was football's steroid. Like, that was the Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa era for football.
Yep.
Cowboy collars, performance enhancing drugs. Yeah, it was nuts.
It started with Brian Bosworth and it ended right around Rolando McClain. Ryan Cushing. Yeah. Marcus Mosher
was a flat circle for linebackers.
It really is. I think
was.
Right now we're getting small. I wonder if we're going to get big again. We're like, this fucking giant over here. He puts his face through a locker every time he goes out there. It's just like, the straight
Cam
up.
Scadaboo's starting it.
Yeah.
Cam Scadaboo's starting it.
He should have played linebacker, dude. He's built like one. And I don't mean that in like a fun way. I mean that like the mental faculties. Out of this list, only 3 linebackers received a second contract from their original team. Surprisingly, Micah Parsons did not. I think Patrick Queen did not. Roquan Smith, I don't think he did at all. The Devons, both of those are considered busts. I'm trying to go down this list. Dante Hightower did. The Patriots like to double down. Very bad list. Marcus Mosher retweets this, and he said, since then, this was yesterday, only Quay Walker and Devin Lloyd. Actually, no. Quay Walker, Devin Lloyd, both round 1 linebackers on new contracts since this happened. Both of those guys who were effective linebackers. Devin Lloyd's a good linebacker. Both left after 4 seasons. That's just not a way to build your team. So you got Sonny Styles. I just don't care that much, man. He doesn't rush the passer. At the end of the day, he doesn't rush the passer. So that's my pitch, Alfredo.
I think it depends on like what you really want out of him. Like, I've seen a lot of Sonny Styles going 5 to the Giants to then run their defense. It's like, well, okay. Do you think you're competing now? Do you think you're competing a few years from now? Like, what do you expect from Styles? Like, I don't know how well versed he is, but is he going to be capable of being the green dot linebacker for your defense in year 1, year 2? Like, that Giants defense, like, isn't that bad. They actually have a good front 7. Like, the secondary was much improved. I don't know that like adding the rangy fast linebacker / pass rusher or whatever we want to call him at this point, doesn't rush the passer, but like, I don't know that puts your defense over the top at this point. Like, I think there's so many other things that they need to do in New York.
And especially this draft where its positional strengths are all in positions the NFL doesn't value. Safety,
Yeah.
that's devalued. Linebacker, that's devalued. Those are all for reasons. It's just like, I get Sonny Styles, but like, why don't you get another wide receiver, lineman, something that is a high value player, and then just get Jacob Rodriguez, Anthony Hill Jr. There's a lot of linebackers at the top of the second round. Do you need a linebacker? Yes. I'm just like, I think if we look back, Marcus Mosher is going to retweet himself again. He's like, we've added Sonny Styles to this list, and now he plays for the Jaguars or some shit. You know, that's what we're going to end up seeing.
I'll pull a page out of your book. It's Watchmen. It's Dr. Manhattan. Like, the year is 2030. We have added 8 more athletic, rangy linebackers to this list.
Exactly. 100%. Next, another one on the Alfredo Brown list. It's Jadarian Price, running back for Notre Dame. He's fast? ? He's big? No. Does he receive? No.
So what is it you'd say you do here? Like, there's a lot of those things. And like, listen, once again, I think with all these players, they're not bad players, or we wouldn't be talking about them going early in the draft. We're talking about what could lead to them being a bust at the next level. And that is all relative to what you believe a bust is. It's not binary good, bad. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's going to land somewhere in between. And I think Jadarian Price ends up landing somewhere in between. I keep seeing mock drafts with him getting taken at like pick 30, pick 28. And I'm just like, why are we pushing this dude into the first round? I don't understand it. He's a smooth runner, but he's not some sort of elite playmaker that deserves this kind of capital. He's got some good contact balance, but when I watch him on film, I see a guy who will get caught from behind when he does break into the second level. He looked a little bigger on film than he weighed in at the combine. Like, I did not expect a guy that was going to be 203 pounds, but he never really uses that bulk on film. Like, I saw him get crushed by linebackers a lot of times, even crushed by safeties. So it's like, you're not really a goal line guy. You had decent, like you squeaked out a 4.49, but also while you're underweight, it's like you don't really have like the burning speed. You don't have the big size. You're just kind of okay at everything. And the league is filled with a bunch of running backs that are okay at everything. Where I struggle with it is that you didn't really have the production either. And that's where I'll kind of like blur the lines a little bit with fantasy. We simply don't see a lot of these running backs or skill players in general go from very minimal production in college to then having insane production in the NFL. And I think that's sort of the metric we can use here to say whether a guy is a bust or a success, is can they produce for the team that drafts him? We had 2 guys do that, Josh Jacobs and Alvin Kamara. Both those guys caught at least 20 passes in their final year. Alvin Kamara caught 40 passes in his final year. And those are outliers. There's not many of those. The league is filled with the Zamir Whites and the Roshan Johnsons and the Trey Sermons. And I comped Jadarian Price here to Damian Harris, Sony Michel, and Blake Corum. Guys that were all in committees, guys that did not catch a lot of passes, and guys that were modest athletes, modest size. And I think that works for Jadarian Price. He's going to be one of these guys that's sort of just in the middle. I don't think you're taking that guy in the first round. I don't think you're taking that guy in the early second round either. I think this is going to be probably not very popular. I think he's a 3rd round pick kind of running back.
I think that 3rd or even 4th round, man, where it's like, I liked Woody Marks a lot better. And that guy was drafted 4th round, even though they traded that whatever you want to put there. It's just, you're right, man. He doesn't do the things that get you paid. And I mean that from an NFL standpoint, and I mean that from a fantasy standpoint. He just doesn't do the things that get you paid. He doesn't catch passes. He doesn't catch passes. And he
not
doesn't
a good pass blocker either.
He's not a good. That's what I said. He's not a good pass blocker. 3rd down gets you paid in this league.
So if you're telling me you're not going to be our short yardage goal line guy, you're not going to be our passing down guy, we've got to find a way to get you on the field. And then also, and if we're just going to say, like, okay, you know what, we're going to trust you to be our guy, right? Like, listen, Ken Walker didn't catch a lot of passes in college, and then he eventually did in the NFL. I had less questions about Ken Walker going into the NFL. I loved Ken Walker's film. He was a very dynamic playmaker. He tested like through the roof athletically. There was a very different player on film and testing. Jadarian Price isn't quite that guy. So it's like, now you're expecting a team to take this leap of faith on a guy who didn't really produce, doesn't show that he has the skill set. So it's not just making the leap from college to the pros. It's making the leap from college to the pros while adding new skill sets He's either getting faster, getting bigger, or getting better at pass blocking and receiving. That's a lot of things for him to get.
Yeah, dude. And if you guys are freaking out on us right now because you're a Jadarian Price truther, you know, or something, stick around because I have a whole point that I want to encapsulate that we've hit at all the time is that, like, if you're not good at certain things, you're just not going to get good at them in the NFL. And there's a reason for that. Before we do, one more linebacker, and I'll be quicker on this because it's same but different. Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese, the one reason I didn't put him higher, you know, for SEO purposes, he's a big deal, you know, he's probably the best prospect. That's kind of why, man. Abdul Carter was one of the best prospects last year. And the same situation. He's athletic, rangy, and can rush to passer. This guy can be a jet. He's probably going to be a jet or something like that, you know. I just have zero faith in Aaron Glenn as a coach. Everything I see out of him, I didn't like him as a hire. I didn't like him this season when he decided, like, how he ran the entire organization, I didn't like. And then he was like falling asleep at the combine. It just, everything just kind of just looks bad for Aaron Glenn. So you have that on top of that. And then we're going to comp him to Micah Parsons. I feel like Micah Parsons is going to be this player that we're going to put him in the same bucket that we're going to put Patrick Mahomes, or we're going to put, you know, these J.J. Watt type guys where they have these profiles that aren't particularly good until you get in the right situation and then they develop into like this freak athlete. And even Abdul Carter had very good tape. He didn't pan out, man. He didn't, or I won't say he hasn't panned out yet. They couldn't get him on the field for like half the year because he just didn't want to play, you know. I just think this is a huge worry there. And I won't reiterate this because it's basically the same thing that I've already told you guys about Sonny Styles because he's not a pure pass rusher on top of that. The next one we have here is a wide receiver. Chris Bell from Louisville. And I haven't actually dove into his tape. I've looked at it in passing. We've talked about him a lot. I like the physical tools. In my opinion, he seems like best case scenario Xavier Legette. But Xavier Legette at least had legs, you know?
That's wild because that is the exact comp that I wrote here in my notes because that's who I'm going to be comping him to in my draft guide. Xavier Legette. Like it's all the things you said. Chris Bell is this physical specimen. He's got this great run after catch ability. The problem is everything that happens before the catch. Like he's not a very nuanced or refined route runner. He's doing a lot of like the rounding stuff out. Just I'm bigger and faster than you, so I'm just going to do this, which that doesn't work when you get to the NFL and everyone else is also big and fast. There's a lot of those things that we've been talking about that need to get better. And so you have all these things that need to improve. Mind you, it's a broken foot, right? The foot injury that might keep him out for most of, if not all of his rookie season, depending on the medical team and how he recovers from this. But there could be a lot of his rookie camp missed. There could be a lot of the season missed. That doesn't bode well for a guy that needs to fix a lot of things. And the problem here is another one. I've seen him late round 1 in mock drafts. I've seen him early to mid round 2. I don't think this is a guy that you should be taking in the top 60 picks. This is a guy that I think is a round 3. Let's put a dart throw on him. Let's redshirt him his first year in the league. Let's get him up to speed on things. And even then, I don't like doing that. Like conceptually, I'm not actually an NFL GM, but I don't like doing that. Like taking a guy with one of my early picks, I'm like, let's see if he develops. When you're doing dart throws like that and seeing if a guy develops, that's like a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick, like late, like that's like just day 3 stuff. I don't love that with Chris Bell. I do think he's got talent. He's got potential. I love the Xavier Legette comp because I have the same thing. I don't think he should be a 2nd round pick this year, but we see it all the time. The big wide receivers who can run well, create after the catch. It feels like there's an Ole Miss guy that's like that every 2 years. And this just feels like more of the same.
Yeah. And there's A.J. Brown to his game, and that's why I say he's best case Xavier Legette. I think he's a better prospect than Legette was.
We do that every unrefined big receiver that has run after catch ability. We're like, oh, the big ones are A.J. Brown, the shorter ones are Deebo Samuel, and the white ones are Cooper Kupp. Like,
That's literally what we do. We just like it's like we straight up we make the little kid boxes and then we just try to like climb them in there. Just like
Squares, circles. This one's a star.
Yeah, and that's just not how everything really works all the time. So,
No.
next one I have is an edge rusher that's getting a lot of steam, and I've been a pretty big hater. I'm still a hater. Keldric Faulk of Auburn on edge. I'll give you some numbers here. I made a chart. I'm making charts now, folks. I basically did it just to show stats guys how dumb they are. I can do it too.
You learned to make charts ironically?
Yes, exactly. I learned how to do it ironically. I did pressures per game, which sacks, hits, and hurries. If you're just looking at sacks in a vacuum, that is very 2000 and late. Like hurries matter. This is how the NFL looks at it. Hits matter. Ruben Bain kind of crushing it here. 6.71. And that's his season. His career, 3.9 pressures per game. Next is David Bailey, 6.1 pressures per game for the 2026 season, 3.1 for the season. We go all the way down. Zion Young, TJ Parker, Gabe Jacas from Illinois, Cassius Howe. There's some other. I got to get Malachi Lawrence in there. Just I haven't. This was from like March 4th. Keldric Faulk, even his best season, which is 2026, 2.7 pressures per game. Every other player ahead of him, significantly more. For a career, 2.49. This dude just doesn't have production. And then when you look at every other player who doesn't have production, we do this every year. We're like, well, he'll develop. He'll develop. I remember Deion Jordan, man. Did he develop? No. We do this every single year where we take the mystery box and say that he has traits that I can't coach, where he has really long arms. He's a good run stuffer. J.J. Watt was a good run stuffer. J.J. Watt was like an outlier that developed, and he had more pressures. J.J. Watt came into the league before we started actually recording pressures. It was just like we're looking at sacks then. I don't get it, and this is another case of the NFL is going to chase these traits, but if you look at it from a data standpoint and even a film standpoint, Keldric Faulk's just not that great of a player. The fact that you're telling me now, like, man, Dolphins we like him. We hope he's there at 30. I'm like, yeah, like he looks like a Dolphin draft pick. And I mean that in a bad way. And I'm sorry. It's like,
first of all, I don't appreciate the disrespect. I'm just going to let you know that. Dude, I look back at guys like this, man. And it's funny when you were talking about Arvell Reese earlier, I was just having flashes of Vernon Golston in my head of just like an Ohio State guy who like, we weren't really sure what he was going to do, but he seems to be this great athlete. Let's put him on the Jets. And like, here we are, times a flat circle. We're doing it again. Let's get him on the Jets. And then now it's funny because I look back at this and I think, man, Trayvon Walker having some solid success in the NFL is probably one of the worst things for NFL GMs because they all think that they can just do that. Mind you, this was still a guy that got picked number 1 overall over Aiden Hutchinson. And it's just like, yeah, there's some success for Walker. That doesn't mean it's going to work out like that every time. And it's just NFL GMs can't help themselves, dude. Like they love this, regardless of position. They love traits. They always do the I can fix her thing. Like they always have that mentality of this guy is either fast, he's strong, or he's long limbed, and I can make it better. I can unlock something that hasn't been unlocked before, as opposed to like that guy's really good and he's better than the other guy that has the potential. I'm just gonna take the guy that's really good and have a really good team. I don't understand it.
Thank you, because this is the perfect time where we're going to talk about your last one on this list, Zachariah Branch, and I'm going to bring it home. Told you guys there's going to be kind of a point to this list, and me and Alfredo brought our players independently here, so it's not like we'd even like planned this to work out this way. Zachariah Branch from Georgia, man, what are we doing? I want to hear your pitch. Here's mine. Did you like Xavier Worthy? Do you think has he been everything that we thought he was going to be? No. Well, guess what? Zach Branch, he is a little bit heavier, cool, but he's slower, less productive, and a worse route runner. What?
Yeah, I'll do you one better. Did you enjoy Malachi Corley? Would you like to do that again?
Yeah.
May I interest you in some Zachariah Branch?
Yeah.
Like it's wild, and I don't understand where we see this thing, we're like, oh, that guy can do one thing and he does it moderately well. Let's see if he can also do that one thing that pretty much anyone in the NFL can do for our team currently. Like 51% of his routes at Georgia were screens.
Yes.
What? What? Like, I'm not drafting that guy in the top 100 picks. Like, what are we talking about? It's and I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because I look around, like I did a consensus thing where I looked at all the top draft experts and where they had guys ranked, and just so I can make a list of what order I should go as I make my evaluations. And I kept seeing Zachariah Branch up high, and I'm like, okay, it's going to be interesting when I get there. And I'm just like, dude, best case scenario, we're looking at a Curtis Samuel. And Curtis Samuel, I think, was better than Zachariah Branch when he was coming out of school. I think we're more likely looking at a McCole Hardman, where he makes like one play every 6 to 7 weeks.
Dare I say Sky Moore, the legend?
Like there's just so many. Sky Moore at least had better production. Like Zachariah Branch doesn't even have that. So like I don't get it. Yes, he's extremely fast. He tested well. He's awesome after the catch. He doesn't run real routes. He just doesn't run real routes. And like, I need that from a wide receiver. I need a guy who can get open consistently. He doesn't have a good array of release moves off the line of scrimmage. Like there's nothing here that gets me excited about this player aside from speed. And the NFL is littered with wide receivers who have speed and can't do anything else. And I don't get it.
The Raiders would have had a Patriots dynasty if speed would have worked like that. I don't get it. And you started a little bit before me. I came in right behind you. And like, we went to the combine together. The closer and more that we learn and we climb in this industry, you learn that the NFL works like any other industry, whether you work in retail, marketing, restaurants, where up high, it's kind of like a boys club where the same people and families are running things. So those same thoughts and mentality just continually bleed their way down to where you have these old school mentalities where like Woody Johnson's looking at Madden ratings and all these other things that like the rest of us as an audience, the rest of us as analysts, we are just getting smarter and smarter. And some of that is bleeding up the other way. But for the most part, just because the people in power aren't really changing, we're going to continue to chase these Zach Branches. And I'm not even talking about the billionaires. I'm talking about coaches. Mike McCarthy is still an NFL coach, guys. That's fucking nuts. Let's just say that out loud. We can all say that together right here. That is nuts. We live in a world where Mike McCarthy is still a head coach. That's kind of the point that I'm making here. And what I've been hinting at, where we talked about Denzel Boston, where we talked about Jadarian Price, now we're talking about Zach Branch, Chris Bell. The NFL does not have time to develop a wide receiver. You said it, man. You need to be worried about install. How do I take my craft and how do I fit into this playbook? How do I refine my route running so I can be on time within whatever playbook that I'm in? That's where you need to be at. And the reason why is that on offense, everything is focused on quarterback development. They are drafting wide receivers to fix quarterbacks. I know that Garrett Wilson needs a quarterback, but the Jets need a quarterback. They're not saying, hey, we got to unlock Garrett Wilson. They are saying that, but even if Garrett Wilson is even better than what he is now, it would not matter if they don't have a quarterback. That's why all their attention is there and offensive line. And on the flip side, it's all on pass rush. Whereas, like, that's why I worry about Sonny Styles. Arvell Reese is interesting because he does pass rush. Keldric Faulk isn't a good pass rusher. He's a run stuffer. If you don't pass rush, they're not going to develop you. They're not developing this guy who's going to come out here and rack up 40 tackles or 20 tackles a game. They don't care about that. They want you to stop the pass.
Dude, just to stay on the wide receiver thing, look at some of the top quarterbacks in the game. Josh Allen gets Keon Coleman. He doesn't develop. Like, Keon Coleman needs to be able to develop on his own, regardless of what Josh Allen does. Xavier Worthy goes to Kansas City. He even has a lot of time without Rashee Rice. Still doesn't develop. Like, even if you put a wide receiver in a great situation, if they're just simply not good at what they're supposed to do, they likely don't develop. And that's one of those things that I keep coming back to. There's very few, for every Rashee Rice that happens to fall in a perfect situation and ends up doing something totally contrarian to what he was doing in college, there's like 20 other guys that just don't work
Yes.
out. And so like, that's why I look at these guys, high potential guys who need the refinement, who need to hone in their skills of route running, of hands, of all these different things. It always irks me, and I'm always going to keep them a little bit lower on my board, because that's just, that type of development doesn't happen all that often in the NFL.
Correct. And where it is, guys, to give you guys a decent analogy, whether this is applicable to fantasy football, this NFL, I even think NBA to an extent, you know, when you just talk about development, because NBA has the same problem where they'll think this guy could jump out the gym, can't shoot worth shit, and then where's he end up at, you know, is that the NFL will sometimes chase crypto, where they're like, this is going to be the new cryptocurrency that's going to hit,
right, and
that goes to shit. Whereas you could have just bought some Amazon stock. Amazon stock ain't going to go anywhere. You know,
and NFL's a copycat league, man. Yeah. And like, they're not even good at being the copycat league. They'll see the defensive end with long arms. They're like, let's do that. They see the Patrick Mahomes gets drafted, and they're like, oh, well, let's just go start taking gunslingers and see how that works out for us. And it's just like, you're never going to actually get ahead in the NFL by trying to copy what someone else did perfectly that one time. And you are always going to be worse than that outlier.
And it's ignoring all the other things. Like you said, that they'll click on the one thing. It's like not to bring our other podcasts in here, like on Binge, but it reminds me like The Studio, where it's like Hollywood took the wrong lesson from Barbie. They're like, fuck yeah, we need yes. It's like, we need Hot Wheels, we need this. That's not what Barbie was about, guys. And like, I know talking about Barbie, you guys are not my audience for, but like, this is what the NFL does, you know, where
we're getting a Game of Life movie, by the way, the board game.
That's what I'm talking about, where they'll take one.
We're gonna get a Monopoly board game. We already got Battleship. Yeah, I can't wait to see what Sorry's about.
This brings it all back where I said the NFL's like any other industry, man. Right now, long-armed athletes, they are our Barbie right now for defensive ends. Speed is going to consistently be we need this star in everything. Where we do that every year, it's like, oh, this hot girl was in this one movie. Like, I feel like Zach Branches are the Sydney Sweeneys. We have a Sydney Sweeney every year. And every year there's a new Sydney Sweeney, and we're like, this is the hot girl that's going to make us a franchise. And it just doesn't fucking happen. Turns out Jesse Buckley made an entire movie about a dying baby, and like that's the future. That's what I'm talking about. You know? The NFL makes mistakes, guys. So it's just
turns out.
Yeah, they make mistakes. We got one more on this list that's really boring, and I just didn't know where to fit. Francis Mauigoa, offensive line. I had to put one on here, man. He's not a left tackle because he's not very athletic, which means he's a right tackle. I'm not, when I say he's not very athletic, his feet just don't move very fast, and you need that.
Is he better at guard?
Say what?
Would he be better at guard?
Yes.
As like a Miami Dolphins fan who I doubt he falls to that range, would he be, if he does fall because no one wants to take a shot at him at tackle, does he all of a sudden become a really good pick at guard, maybe over Ioane? Is that how
Ione, Vega Ione. I think he's, and the reason why I have him over there is like, I think he can play some right tackle. He's just going to be a liability a lot. He's like, I think he's much better at a run blocker at right tackle, but if you kick him inside, he's a very, very good pass blocking guard, which you need interior linemen in here. And that's why I just think a team's going to draft Mauigoa to be Will Campbell. Will Campbell's not even a good Will Campbell right now, depending on who you talk to on the streets, you know? And I worry about that. And that's why he's on this list.
Does Mauigoa become a Brandon Scherf?
Yes, actually.
Or a Skoronski?
Skoronski's the perfect one for me because I felt the same thing about Skoronski, where I just feel like you're going to draft him as an off. That's why, like, in my last mock that I had the 49ers trading up to go and get him. I think he's worth a top 15 pick. It's just, what are you going to do with them? Offensive linemen, they take a lot of time with them. That goes back, like, offensive linemen, they're the special boys. You know, they will try to develop these guys. So I think he's worth the top 15 pick. I'm just not putting him at left tackle to save my life, and I'm probably expecting him to go to guard. That's just where I'm at with him. So, you know.
The NFL, like the one place where little fat kids get treated better than everybody else, and I love it.
Exactly.
I'm all about it.
Exactly. That'll do it, guys. We gave you 10 and we kept it under an hour. Before we go, Alfredo, you just dropped a rookie guide. Am I right?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So the Pretend GM rookie draft guide is going to be all fantasy and dynasty based here. So I've got right now version 2.0 is out. We've got all the quarterbacks and running backs in that guide. I do everything from my film scores that I do. I actually spent a year as a scout for FIU football, scouting high school kids going into college. And I've been doing this for a long time, especially with fantasy and dynasty as well. So I like to take both the film score, the production and metric scores, all these things, put them together and try to find some really good comps for you guys. I love doing low, median, and high and seeing where these players are going to be. On top of that, I've had some great collaborations with a few other companies that are giving their consensus rankings. I've got medical reports from Dr. Vignesh Doraiswamy for players that we have injury concerns about. And right now, I've got the pre-order price of just $9.99 for it. It's over at pretendgm.com/guide. It is a huge help for me. Listen, I've got 2 dogs, man. I need to feed these dogs. I'm an independent content creator. You guys are helping me by investing in that. So please head on over to pretendgm.com/guide and check it out for yourself.
That'll do it, folks. I highly recommend it. Like I said, like this, I'm not bringing folks on here unless I like believe in them. I'm, if you guys know me, I work with Alfredo all the time. Very good, especially for fantasy. And you could still get our rookie guide over at Dynasty Nerds because, like I said, we actually have tape. Alfredo doesn't have that yet. So,
Don't invite me back.
Yeah. All right, folks, so that'll do it. As always, it's me, Jagger May, and for this episode, that's Alfredo Brown. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.